Hey, welcome back to the pod where I just ramble about a DevOps related subject in a conversational way. So, something that I was thinking about a few months ago was, should you specialize in your DevOps career? So, let's just set the scene here. One of the unique things about this career is that it is so generalist. In DevOps, you have to learn about so many different tools in so many different domains, and you're just basically a super generalist. That's part of what makes this job so difficult to do, actually. Most jobs are not like that. There are some jobs that are kind of generalist but not too broad a subject base, and then most involve at least a little bit of specialization. And then there are those jobs which increasingly more and more and more in modern society seems to be the only way to command a high salary is to become super specialist. Actually, the more specialist you are as well, the more protected your career can be, as long as that specialism is still thriving. So, things like, for example, being a criminal lawyer, or a doctor who specializes in a particular kind of medicine, like could be maybe the brain or different part of the body. And there's many different jobs like that. And if your job area is kind of, let's call it evergreen, like for example a specialist doctor, then that's great. You got no danger in being a specialist. You'll always be in demand, you'll always command a high salary. And it allows you, if you're a specialist, to focus as well on your particular area. So it's pretty rewarding as well, I would say. So yeah, being a DevOps, you're a generalist who's expected to be good at everything. It's almost an impossibility, a paradox, a unicorn role, and it just makes it super hard. So going back to the original question, should you specialize in your DevOps career? I actually think yes, maybe not in the beginning. You don't necessarily have to in the beginning, because it is important to have a base of fundamentals. And if you look at any DevOps roadmap, just Google it, then you really do need a good base of knowledge, like operating system, command line, observability / monitoring, ideally containers, scripting, Python over and above just simple scripting, but actually knowing how to program, all kinds of areas, CI/CD, software development lifecycle. Need to get in the mind of being like a developer if you're not already a developer. There's so many things, and you do need to cover those fundamentals. But I think it's definitely a good idea after that to specialize. So you might be wondering, well, where can I specialize? Well, the first key obvious place to specialize is as simple as this: is Kubernetes. And the reason is because it's quite a big growth area. Now, there was a while where people weren't sure if Kubernetes was really the future, and even one of the guys related to the project, Kelsey Hightower, he was on record as having said, well, we shouldn't expect it to be looking like this in another 10 years from now. The idea is that we should hopefully have progressed beyond here, but actually looking at it, I think it's as strong as it's ever been, and a lot of people really appreciate what it is. This kind of self-healing, highly extensible API platform. It's just amazing, and I think it took people working on it and developing it and huge support for people to realize just how amazing it is. So yeah, that's one thing. You could get into that, and more generally, it's really about platform management, which you may have heard is a new term. A platform management is where you develop and build out a platform for developers to consume and to use, so that they can better deploy and more quickly deploy, increase those software development life cycles to get quicker and quicker and quicker. And as a platform engineer, you just focus on building the platform, and the customer is the developer base. So that's definitely one area that you can focus on, being a platform engineer, and it's super amazing specialization to get into today. It's difficult to say what else you could specialize as. I have seen a couple of others. I want to give some examples. So for example, one thing that you can do is just focus on observability. But I will tell you that it's quite difficult to find roles that are focused on this. So that's part and parcel of what goes sometimes with specialization. Obviously there's going to be fewer roles, but you still want enough liquidity in the job market that you can not have trouble getting a job and changing jobs every few years as well. So I would say for anything other than Kubernetes, you're going to really need to be open to do remote work or living in a major metro area. And observability is one possible way you can do that. Large companies especially may have dedicated teams for observability, and you can focus solely on that and solely on improving a company's observability stack, customizing it exactly to their needs. It is a little bit more linking in with SRE, because SREs are focused on SLAs, SLIs, and SLOs, and metrics and observability are particularly important. So again, you're most likely to see that in large companies, and that may suit you. If you prefer more startup style, then actually specializing is not a good idea if you really enjoy working with startups. Startup is always going to be the most generalist kind of DevOps career. So just be aware of that. If you do love startups and you don't like working with large companies, well, you're going to probably be a generalist for the rest of your life. So those are two things: Kubernetes/platform management, and the second one was observability. There is a third one that I can think of, and that's ML Ops, also known as AI Ops. So what is ML Ops? Now, it existed before all this chat GPT and LLMs and all that kind of stuff, but obviously that has helped ML Ops to become even bigger. ML Ops means machine learning ops, and it's really just the equivalent of DevOps, but in the machine learning world. So it allows companies who have data scientists mostly, and also people who are completely in the science domain, not necessarily related to data, but definitely data scientists, and also maybe machine learning engineers and maybe data engineers. It helps all of them bring to production, to productionize their models. Because what happens at the moment in a lot of companies is you've got data scientists who are just playing around with Jupyter notebooks, using those to create models, train them, and do all that kind of stuff. But what they're not really doing is they're not really serving those models, productionizing them, that they can be accessible for the rest of the company to really use in a production ready or enterprise ready state. It's all just like, it's kind of like doing all your calculations on the back of an envelope. It's pretty rudimentary. And MLOps is the productionization of machine learning models, really serving them in a proper, robust way. So that's what MLOps is. And it's a big area. If you decide that you want to go into that, the great thing is you can use all the same principles of DevOps. So you'll have various different pipelines, and you'll be looking for consistency and robust, and do everything as code. Is very, very similar to DevOps in that respect. But obviously you're going to have to learn, just like in DevOps you have to learn about what development is, in MLOps you have to learn about what machine learning is. So that could be super interesting. It hasn't really taken off in the way that a lot of people thought it would. So a lot of people with these new LLMs, they're just using third-party APIs. They haven't really productionized them. But I think especially with large companies, you're going to see this more and more and more, and it is a potentially very, very interesting area that you could specialize in. So I hope you found that interesting. Just to underline, Kubernetes/platform management, observability, and MLOps. Apart from that, I can't really think of any areas I would recommend anyone to particularly specialize in. I think it's just too difficult. Not many companies are really have got those roles for you. I mean, for example, another one I would say is you can become really expert in CI, continuous integration, the build process. You can make that as complex as you want. There's so many things you can do there, and code scanning and all kinds of stuff, and artifact management. You could have one person in a team do nothing but CI. However, I've never really seen a role advertised that is just CI. So if you're looking to specialize, you can, but don't expect to find such a role. Kubernetes platform management, observability, and ML or AI ops. So I hope you found this useful, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.